Okay, and then we come to the heartbreak story of Charles Kinnear's assassination. What do you know about why it happened, who was responsible, and why was he not protected when everybody knew he was on at least one hit list?
So, this is infuriating is such a light word, but yeah. So I came to be aware, I knew of Colonel Kinnear, Lieutenant Colonel Kinnear, and around 2017, 2018, I kind of got to get a feel for who this police officer is via court cases. His name started cropping up, etc. And he was the investigating officer in a big so-called underworld case that was unfolding in Cape Town, and that centered around a few individuals who were accused of going to nightclubs and enforcing their security services on it. And Colonel Kinnear was the investigating officer, and he testified in court. And through that, his demeanor, I'm not sure if it's his personality or his portrayed police personality, but he's sort of he doesn't raise his voice. And he came across as the person who didn't need to raise his voice because what he's saying is fact. He's very to the point, factual, not loud body language, a very sort of muted individual.
Is that by ordentlike man?
Yes. Oh, perfect words. Perfect, yeah. And throughout that court matter, 2017, 2018, it became very apparent that something bad is happening. There had been threats against police officers before, but this was a unique case because he came to court and there were sort of a police team behind the police investigators, or sort of bodyguards, etc. And it emerged in court back in either 2017 or early 2018 that he was on a hit list along with General Veery, the prosecutor in this court matter, and another police officer, a very, very strong, fierce woman police officer who is very no-nonsense. She was also on this, I would say, hit list or alleged hit list, according to which way you want to look at it. And we knew then this came out in open court. This was a few years before he was murdered. It was known that there was a hit on him. And it makes me, to this day, it makes me very uneasy because throughout covering these sort of organized crime cases, I started covering them when it wasn't popular in the Western Cape, when I was the only person sitting in court. There were no other journalists, etc. And it became so obvious to me that something is badly amiss here. But in a way, something uneasy, something bad is going to happen. And I remember when I looked at my phone, it was a Friday afternoon, and a contact message to say, Kinnear is dood. And I'm like, what? At that point, I wasn't in journalism, and I sent off the tip-off to some colleagues, former colleagues to be, etc. And it was true. And I think what's most horrific is that anyone who has covered this would have known this man's life was in danger. That was not the first threat. We then had a hand grenade incident outside his house. It was almost unbelievable that what we could all see could potentially actually happen within the police. The very people meant to be protecting us have now been targeted, and they weren't able to prevent it, even though the writing was so loud, clear, big, bold on the wall.